Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Well, check out Deal to Heal Teas. With our inspirational teas, you're sure to find something that will inspire you. Just go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. That's Deal to Heal Teas. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tea and be inspired all day. That's Deal to Heal Teas at dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Hey guys, this is Earnest James, host of the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, and I got a question to ask you. Could you buy me a cheeseburger? Better yet, could you buy me a value meal? Yes? Well, guess what? I don't need a value meal. However, for the cost of a value meal, you can support this podcast to keep us on the air. Just go to Patreon/Deal to Heal podcast and choose any one of the 3 tiers that's available. And if you just want to make a one-time donation, go to Cash App and make a donation to $EJames, the number 418. Make a one-time donation to the Cash App, or again, go to Patreon to support this podcast and keep us on the air. Thanks in advance. Be blessed. Welcome to Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. On this podcast, my guest and I will discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can live a life that is happy, healthy, and whole. So I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. Welcome to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James, and I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, to heal, and to fulfill. Let's deal with your problems, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. If you haven't already, make sure that you listen, like, subscribe, and share. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube page, our Facebook page, because there we're able to talk to you more on a daily basis and share information that we're not able to share on YouTube. And also hit us up and follow us on our Spotify page. Not Spotify. Yeah, Spotify. I think that's it. For our the podcast, the audio podcast, so you can listen to us on the go. And guys, make sure you stay until the end, because I'm going to tell you how you can win $100 from the podcast, and it don't cost you anything. It's free to you, but you just got take a little action, but it don't cost you nothing. So make sure you stay until the end to do that. We're gonna jump right in, because today, just like any other day, we are blessed with a guest, Dr. Tabatha Russell. How are you doing?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me this evening.
No problem. First of all, let me say thank you for being here, because you could be doing anything else and be anywhere else, but you took our time to be here with myself and my listeners, and I definitely appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
No problem. So we're going to jump right in, because we already had like a 30-minute conversation before we start recording. I had to push pause, like, wait, let's start over, because we already going. And so we got to start over and probably say some things that we already have discussed, but I think it's necessary, because I think it's great information that we're talking about. And so, Dr. Russell, if you don't mind, introduce yourself to my listeners and tell us what it is exactly that you do.
Okay, my name is Dr. Tabatha Russell, and I am a healthy wealth coach. I am also an author, a business strategist, and I do so many things. I wear a lot of hats. However, my main goal is to help to empower women to live their best life. And what do I mean by that? I help them to create multiple streams of income. I help them to take an idea or a concept and bring it into reality as far as their business is concerned, and or either expand on that idea. So basically, we talk about going from an employee to a CEO, and not just a CEO of a business, but a CEO of an empire. And how do we do that? We build it one brick at a time.
All right, all right. And I definitely appreciate that because you probably didn't know, but I'm a bricklayer by trade. So I love that's why I got the bricks behind me. So when you take one brick at a time, I'm like, yeah, yeah. You know, that's why I
Love it.
so one of the things we were talking about off the air before was just the the wanting to do more, right? And so those of us that have a heart for people, as we both do, we have this drive and we have these opportunities that sometimes come to us. And one of our biggest hindrances in to be able to do more for the world is our finances, because we have these opportunities sometimes, or we have these ideas where we want to create these opportunities, not only for ourselves, but opportunities for others, opportunities to be a help to others. And sometimes we can't do that just because we don't have the correct finances. Or if we do have the finances, they're not in order enough, or we haven't paid attention to it enough to be able to put it in order where we can use our finances to be able to help us to fulfill the purpose that God has given us. So, just in your own words, what would be, or just I ain't gonna say what would be, but how do you kind of address that? That want to do more, but just don't have the financial intelligence, I would say, or financial know-how to, help yourself to bring those things to fruition.
Okay, well, thank you so much. That's really a good point that you brought up. When it comes to people that want to do more, I say it all starts with an idea, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
having an idea of wanting to do something more is great because sometimes people don't see themselves doing and having more. They're okay with the four walls that they're in. However, once that glimmer of hope comes in, now you have something to work with. That's the foundation that you lay. As well as we look at what's happening now in order for us to be able to get to the future, right? Like I like to take a concept of what I call we start from the end, from the beginning, right? And then we back into what needs to happen in order for us to get to that result. And so I have become passionate about helping people with their finances and really transforming the way that they think about it, the relationship that they have with money. And one of the things that I found is that we all, to some degree, want to do and have more. We want to create a better life for ourselves, a better life for our children, leave a legacy, all of that. But we don't see how we can do it when our finances are already challenged, strapped, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I'm so passionate about that is because I was her. I can remember wanting to do more, wanting to have more, but I did not have the finances in order to do so. What was some of the things that I started to do was I started studying how people was getting this done, right? Like I grew up in inner city Philadelphia, for example, and with me doing that, I would wonder how can people afford to live in that kind of house? Or how could they afford to live or drive that kind of car? And what type of jobs were they doing and stuff like that? And I found out that it was a little bit bigger than that, right? I found out that they did things in such a way that gave them greater success over the course of time. But the first thing that they started with was their mindset. And because they conditioned themselves that no matter what, I'm going to go after my goals. And more importantly, I'm not going to stop until I obtain that, was the biggest thing that I got out of all of that. And so I can remember going through a couple of rough patches along the way where I literally fell flat on my face trying to figure this out because I didn't come from a background where my mom at the time had a lot of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can honestly say that she did a fantastic job with the resources that she had available to her, right? I didn't know that we were broke. I didn't know that we were poor. I didn't know that we didn't have access to certain things until I got outside of my space. And once I got outside of that, I was fortunate enough to participate in some gifted and talented programs, which allowed me to be bussed outside of my school zone. And kids in the 10th grade driving to school with Mercedes Benz, BMWs, and cars of the like, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm like, what is going on here? Not to mention that I was only like 3% of a group in this particular school system. And so it really drove me to say, there is more to life. And over the past 20 years that I've been coaching and helping people with their finances, I have not seen a financial situation that we could not come back from, that we could not work with in order to get to where somebody is going, if they condition themselves to say that this is really what I want to do, and that why is big enough to carry them through that journey. And then, secondly, it's going to take some work, right? Like really putting themselves in position to be able to make money. A lot of times, I will say some of us are taught that when we get in a pinch, we're going to cut everything off, right?
Mhm.
The cable's going, we're not shopping, we're not going to eat out, none of that stuff,
Mhm.
because we have a goal in mind. Where our counterparts, those with money, say, well, wait a minute, how can I make more money to accommodate my lifestyle that I desire? And that's what they do. They go out and create multiple streams of income or other resources that's going to help them to be able to fund that. And so me learning that, it's like, oh, well, that must be the way to go. And so slowly but surely, I was able to now create a system that helps people to be able to do that.
Okay, okay. Well, I wanted to mention two things that you said. The first thing, we knew we was broke. You know, I knew I was broke when we was little. But the reason why I knew that was sort of similar to your story is because I had a reference point of what it was to not be broke, right? And so before, or should I say, when I was born, I was the fourth child of my mom and dad, and during that period, we were doing very well, or should I say, they were doing very well. My dad worked for the phone company at that time, which was a good job, and I remember we had the big house, we had the camper, we'd take the vacations in the summertime and all of that. So I had that reference as a young child of, oh, what that lifestyle was like, middle class, well to do, and doing okay. Due to some unfortunate circumstances, that all changed, and so we went from having the big nice house to living in this, house that almost looked like a haunted house, and then having some challenges financially, not just financial challenges, but then there are more children. So I was the fourth child, and then there was five after me, and so there's nine of us in whole, as siblings from my mom and dad, and so it was very noticeable, that some things had changed on the home front. So unfortunately, yeah, I did know that, like, all right, something ain't right here. Some things have changed. I ain't got as many toys as I used to have, and things like that. So I did notice the change in the finance, when our financial climate changed in our family, because the dynamics changed. But one of the things I like that you said with your program, and I can attest to that, because I joined a program called Make Real Estate Real, which is a real estate program out of Chicago. I don't get paid to say it, but Jamal King, because I'm from Chicago, so Jamal King, who's who started the program, pretty much based off his life, one of the things that he teaches is to, first of all, think of the life that you want to have, what do you want? What kind of car do you want to drive? What kind of house do you want to live in? And then once you know what that end goal looks like, then how much would it cost to live that lifestyle? And then once you have that financial number, then you start working your way backwards to, okay, now how do I make that financial number? So sort of like the same way as you said with your program. So I definitely think that's a great way to start. And again, like you said, it starts in your mind. What is your vision for yourself? What is your vision for your family? What is your vision for your future that you want, and how do you want that to look? And once we have a clear view of that, then it's easier to break down, what it takes to get there, financially. And so one of the other things that I wanted to talk about, even thinking about that, knowing that it starts in your mind, one of the things that I think a lot of times we don't have is just a positive outlook on life, right? A positive outlook on your dreams to even think that they're actually possible. I remember having more recently a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were having a conversation about some of our other friends who was going through some hardships. And as we began to talk about, what they were dealing with and how they said they were feeling and things like that, I realized that a lot of times, or one of the main reasons is now that a lot of people are having problems in their lives is because they're dependent on other people for their happiness. They're dependent on other people to make them happy instead of taking their ownership of their own life and say, okay, what is it that I want? What is it that makes me happy? And it's sort of the same thing, and even in our finances, like you're waiting for somebody to come save you. You're playing a lotto, you're scratching, scratch offs, robbing Peter to pay Paul, hoping one day it's gonna work out. But we have to really look at it and figure out what is it that we want. What is that we want to do, even in our financial situation. But not only that, but to be able to have a positive outlook on those things that we say we want. And so how important do you believe that being positive or having that positive outlook, that positive mindset, even going into that journey, the financial journey, how important do you believe that is?
I believe that having a positive mindset is 110% of the journey, right? You can't go where you don't see yourself going,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm also a visionary type of person, meaning that because we need to have a vision, that means that we can constantly have a reminder of why we're doing the things that we're doing, why we're making the sacrifices, why we're potentially working so hard, why we're creating multiple streams of income, why it is that we're pounding the pavement, or why it is that we're online for so many hours, why we're doing so much research. And the list can go on. But at the end of the day, your why has to be as big as your vision of where you want to go. And once you get your mindset together, there's no stopping you. There's literally, I had the opportunity to serve as a chaplain for a period of years when I did my first internship for my doctorate. And with doing that, I had closed head injury as well as stroke victims on my caseload. I would go in and I would see them, those that had a positive mindset that said, Jesus is going to bring me out of this and I'm going to get back to 100% and that kind of stuff. I saw them literally get up and walk, literally regain their motor skills and all of that. But those that said, why me? Or I can't believe that this happened and woe is me, did not do so great. And
Mm-hmm.
so I do know that having a positive mental mindset can allow you to accomplish some things that you yourself may not have even thought was possible. Because a lot of people become paralyzed with fear that they can't do it. They allow the naysayers to jump in on the bandwagon sometimes and different things like that. But once you make up your mind, there's no stopping you at all. So
Yeah.
I believe that having a positive mindset plays a huge role in you being able to be successful at whatever it is that you're doing.
Right, right. And so one of the things so we know that the positive mindset um, definitely has a big, plays a big part. But when we talk about finances, I think also what also plays a big part in making sure that we have a positive and a healthy relationship with money as a whole, or even just the idea of money, right?
Mhm.
And so you mentioned about having working to get your doctorate, and so I know in the church space, as we both come from,
Yeah.
uh, one of the things we always hear of, or how always have heard, and often misquoted, is the love of money is the root of all evil, and obviously usually they leave out the, I said love because that's what it said, but usually they leave that part out. And it's like, money is the root of all evil. Like,
Yes.
well, that can't be so if we believe in the Bible, because the Bible also says money answers all things. So it can't be both, and the Bible doesn't contradict itself. But what it actually says is the love of money, is the root of all evil. So having a positive, or should I say, a healthy relationship with money, and what money is to be used for, I think plays a big part. And I think that a lot of times we have that misunderstanding of what it is to have money and what it is not to have money. And I think we look at people who quote unquote have money, and some of them are not the nicest people, And so one of the things I like to point out is that, where's your heart, and how do you feel about things that you want to do and things you want to achieve, for the benefit of other people? And so when people start talking about, well, I want to do this and I want to help this person, I want to do this. And I said, so would $1 million be better in your hands, or would it be better in somebody else's hands? And once you realize that, what I can do for the good of humanity if I had the money, then it starts to change your outlook on what money is. So money is just an amplifier. All it is going to do is amplify whatever it is that's inside you that's already there. So if you are an evil person, it's just going to give you the opportunity to be more evil. Excuse me. But if you are a good person, it's going to amplify the possibility and the opportunities for you to do more good in the world. So how, just in your own words of, explaining and reaching out to people, or getting people to understand that healthy relationship with money, what would be something that you would instruct them or advise them to do, even to start coming to that place where they realize, hey, money is not bad. Money is just a tool. It's how you use it. I mean, you can use a hammer to beat some nails to build a house, or to bust somebody upside the head with. It's just how you use it. But the hammer itself, the hammer itself don't have any power. It's only the power and the motive that you give it. And sorry if I hope nobody is traumatized from that example. But
That's good. That's good. I like that you gave a descriptive analogy there. So I say money is this. If people think that money was evil, try living in this world without it, right?
Mhm.
There's some people that go off the grid, but they got to go so far and take themselves out of civilization in society of being around others in order for them to live off the grid, meaning no money, no electrical electronics, no electric, no facilities within your home or anything like that, right? So I said it's literally almost impossible to be without it. And I tell people you can equate money to like this. Money is like air, the air that we breathe, right? Try living without air, without oxygen. So money plays a big role in all of our lives, as well as money also is that tool, but it also allows us, or it affords us the opportunity to be comfortable in some sort of way. Whatever that level of comfortability a person desires, that's what money can do for you. And so having a healthy relationship with that a lot of times allows you to sometimes create boundaries in such a way to where it not only makes you feel good about your accomplishments, but it also allows you the vehicle to be able to do something else, help others, empower them, buy the things that you like, but more importantly, set up a legacy, right? The Bible tells us to leave an inheritance, not just to our children, but to our children's children. And what does that look like? Creating a legacy. Now, here it is. I also say that when it comes down to money, it's imperative that we sometimes really get a healthy relationship with it. And what do I mean by that? In today's times, the things that potentially that our parents taught us, or whomsoever was that instrumental person in your life, may not be relevant to today's times because of modern technology, because the price of everything going up and things like that. So we've got to be relevant with the times, meaning creating those healthy boundaries means that's relevance. And sometimes we have to look at where our habits come from. Look at the relationship that was handed down to us, right? Because when we're born, we're basically spoon fed with whatever habits we have initially in our environment. And so whatever that is, does that serve you now? And so you can create healthy boundaries by answering that question. And if you can answer no, then it's time to do something. And that's where we get to the healthy part of it. Be okay with not being okay that no longer works, but now let's move on to something else. And if this works over here, then let's go, right? Get a plan that works for you.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things to mention is as we're being taught, by our parents about our money and things like that. Sometimes it's not even that they may have taught us wrong in some things, but maybe they only taught us up to the information that they had, right? So me personally, I grew up in a household where entrepreneurship was part of it. But when I look back now, we were in entrepreneurship, but only to a certain level, and so there was a level that my parents stopped at, right? So my dad worked out of his garage, basically running his own business as a mechanic out of the garage, and so he did that. So I remember my mom, we sold candy. My mom had the candy store, and then at one point we sold candy out of our van. So she had to set up like a little store inside the van, and we would go, throughout the neighborhood and sell candy like the ice cream guy, right? And so also, as we got a little older, I don't know if you've ever been to some of these cities, but in Chicago, when you get off the expressway, come off the expressway ramp, and then you'll see the people that was there that's be selling, peanuts or T-shirts or whatever they're selling. We did that, right? Okay. We did that for years. And so the mindset of an entrepreneur was always there. Yet what I know now, looking back, since I've been getting my own journey as an entrepreneur, as an adult, to looking back as, we did have a good foundation, but they couldn't give us more than what they had, right? And so with the information that they had, they couldn't take us, to that next level. And even having a conversation recently about credit, one of the things that I did for my daughter when she turned 19 was I put her on my credit card as an authorized user, which gave her my credit history. So when my daughter started out, her first credit report or credit score was higher than mine, So, but I thought about that because my mom always had good credit. My mom always had good credit, but she didn't know about that. So she didn't know that she could give us that that head start in our own credit journey just by putting us as an authorized user on her accounts where we had her credit history, to start from as a starting point instead of starting from zero. So there's a point of just the transference of knowledge and wisdom that sometimes we don't have around money. So that's why I was excited about the work that you do, because we're able to get these messages out now, on a broader field, like, hey, there's more to it. There's some decisions, there's some mindset, there's some things that you have to do that could literally take your family to the next level, and to be able to leave that legacy and leave that, like you said, not just for your children, but for your children's children. And if we're able to set up a trust and all that for your children's children, and it just goes on. But again, this is all information that not always readily available to us. we have to seek after it. We have to seek after the knowledge, and then we get the knowledge. We got to put it into action. And I know one of the things that we were talking about before we started recording was that even getting that knowledge and putting it into action. You mentioned that the work that you do now, at one time you did it for free, and the people that you were doing it for wasn't taking action. So tell me, let's recap a little of that story that you were sharing with me about even that experience and how you even came to the mindset of, you know what, I need to charge, people. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So for me, I started my journey of coaching about 20 years ago. And when I started coaching people in their finances, I did it one-on-one. I would do conferences. And I was so passionate and so eager to get this information out there. I would take my own money and print out the packets that I had. I would have budget sheets in there. I'd have information about the current market trends and different things like that as far as credit was concerned. And seemingly, we would leave the conference and there would be hundreds of people in there, but I would walk by and I would see a couple of the packets laying there on the seats. And I'm like, gosh, I would go home and I'm sorely deflated. Like, okay, all the other packets were gone, but just for whatever reason, those few that were left behind stuck with me. And so I'd go home and I remember one time in particular, I laid across a packet, like prostrate on the floor, and was just praying, bawling my eyes out because I was so deflated that somebody would take such valuable information, life-changing stuff, and leave it there in the seat. And God was saying that you have to charge people for knowledge. And so in to that degree, it was like, I never thought about that, and he was like, well, people pay attention where they pay, right? You put money in their hand or they transfer that money to you. They're watching to see what it is that you're doing with that money. I equate it to this. We go to a restaurant and we get a meal. And if the service is not good, usually you're not going to leave a good tip, right? And so we equate service to money. And so the Lord was like, yeah, you need to charge. People pay attention where they pay their money. And initially it felt a little weird, right? Like, we're in the kingdom, we're here to serve others and help them to get out of bondage and things like that. But he's like, no, you're empowering them because you're holding them accountable to what it is that they say that they want to do. They want to be debt free. They want to live a more a more advantageous lifestyle, right? Like they want to be able to have the advantages of others, being able to have good credit, being able to uh, just use signature documents, right? Like when you get to a certain place in your credit score, you can go in and just put your signature on there, and they're not asking you a lot of questions. They don't need you to bring in all your documents, right?
Right.
And so that's been my journey, my path, and how I got to where I built a course around teaching people really how to structure their finances in such a way to where it's going to benefit not just them, but others, right? Literally, they can take the process and help to now empower those around them, change their environments and different things like that. So for me, I just saw it from the beginning of being bigger than just me and really having a passion to want to help to empower people to where they can create the lives of their dreams.
Yeah, and so on this entrepreneurship journey that I'm even on, one of the things that I learned from one of my mentors, and what he said was, if you don't pay, you don't pay attention,
That's
right? And
Mhm.
so and also thinking of from the words from the Bible is where your heart is, your treasure is, or where your treasure is, your heart is.
That's it.
And so where people put money where they what they care about.
That's right.
And so if you're giving people something for free, again, you're not necessarily helping them, but you're hindering them. Because if you don't have, and now this is my saying, if you don't sacrifice to start something, you're not going to sacrifice to keep it going. You
That's
know,
right.
And so when things are given to you so easily, you don't respect it, you don't value it. And so this same information, and I remember even my mentor, he was saying that he had a course that he started and he was selling it. And one of his mentors was like, you need to raise your price. Then he was like, well, if I raise my price, then I got to add more information, whatever. Like, no, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to realize the value of the information that you have. So when you were getting started, what you thought the value was, or what you thought people were willing to pay. So now that you understand that, okay, people are willing to pay that, now think about what is the actual value of what it is that you're bringing. And because the value of what you're bringing is more than what people are willing to pay, then it's time to raise your price. And you're not hurting anyone by doing that. You're actually helping them, because now that they're paying, now that they're putting that treasure in it, that their heart is in it, and even he had was talking about his experience with the same thing as you was, having things that he was selling at a low price and then seeing those things just, tossed by the wayside. And it's like, why? Like, I'm trying to make it easy. I'm trying to make it, affordable, and it's like, yeah, that affordable and free is the same thing. And people don't care until they care, And so if a lot of times, if it doesn't cost people anything, then they don't pay attention to it. If it don't cost them something where they don't feel it, when you're making them investments and you kind of feel it a little bit like, yeah, this is my last, and it really is your last,
Right.
you feel it a little different. And so you're going to pay attention to it a little more,
Right.
And so speaking of that, like I heard you mention about, starting the course to teach about it. So let's talk a little bit more about the course and what it is that you offer the people who take your course.
Okay, so the course in itself is called Breakthrough Millionaires. And the reason why I titled that is because I believe that we all have millionaire status within us. We have millionaire ideas, we have millionaire concepts. And if we put in the work, we can definitely obtain that. And so it's a 12-step process where we really break down different areas of finances in order to be able to empower a person that when they finish the course that they have actionable steps that they've completed that's literally going to put them on their pathway to success, whatever that looks like for them. And so wherever that person comes into that program, whatever their goal is that they want to accomplish when they leave the program, they'll have a blueprint to be able to do that. And so the reason why I have the course, though, is that I realized that people needed to have some structure around being able to do this. When I initially started coaching, I would do one-on-one coaching sessions. And in those sessions, I would do from a holistic point. So whatever it was that they needed to work on at that time, we dealt with that and then we worked on to it. Well, I also know that sometimes it's even more than just finances. People need to really get conditioning in their mindset. So we have mindset structure in there. We also have a community of like-minded people that's on the same path and the same journey that they can relate to. A lot of times we go through things and we feel like we're the only one that's going through it. No, there's hundreds of thousands of people that's having this very same problem right now. And so in order to be able to help them with that, the course really does bring some structure back to the process for them.
Oh, great. Okay. So I know you got the course, but I was along with the course, or it says standalone from the course, is your book also. And I thought the title was very interesting. So let's tell us a little bit about the book. I want to hear a little bit about that.
So the book title is I Divorced My Money and I Married My Mindset. Because a lot of people think that if they have the money, that everything's going to be right with the world, right? We hear that saying all the time, everything's going to be good. I understand that. However, statistics says the average person that you give $1 million that does not have any literacy training will go broke in 5 years or less. And that is very sad when we think about how hard that person worked to get that money, get to that money, right? So the book really helps to break down the start of their journey, really helps to break down that process and what that could potentially look like for them. And there's also, I like the number 12, right? But I like that the book in itself gives 12 actionable steps that you can go through as well. So I tell people this is that you can get the book and you can walk away with some really good nuggets or some good gems that could help you on your journey. The course in itself, though, takes it a little bit further, it takes it deeper, and it really helps you to condition and reinforce the principles that you're working on. So it depends on where a person is at and how far they want to go in their process. So the book is the start of the journey.
Okay, okay. So we got the course and we got the book to get us started. So before we get out of here, one of the other things I wanted to you to talk about real quickly, and you can expound as much as you want. But one of the things that you mentioned that you wanted to talk about is why you think that everyone should have a business, right? And so, just in a few words or less, have much you want to expound on it. Why do you think that is important for everyone to have a business?
It is hugely important for everybody to have a business. And case in point is recently we learned that the pandemic changed a lot of people's lives. People lost their homes, people lost their jobs, people lost a lot of what they considered to be their existence because of a non-controllable event that nobody saw coming, right? And so the reason why I say that people need to have a business is because it allows them to be able to control their own economy. They get to have a say so a lot of times in what their financial structure looks like. Not to mention that having a business affords you the opportunity to have some really good tax breaks, right? It is disheartening when I hear a statement like one of the most richest men in the world that owns a very large supplier of all things, and that you can get it to your home in just a couple of days, pays
Right.
less in taxes than his secretary. What does that tell you? That means that somebody somewhere knows something about business that we don't. And
Mhm.
what we've got to do is a lot of times when you want to get to where a person is, you got to get in the room, you got to get the mindset, you got to learn what it is that they do and follow that process. We're at a place now when it comes to business and really conditioning in our mindset is that we don't have to get out here and be so innovative and create new stuff. I have a thing where I say that you can do the same thing I'm doing, but what's for you, the people that you're called to, is going to be available there to you. And they'll also be available to me. Like they have our names on them, waiting and willing to learn from that person. So I say that a business is invaluable to us because it's literally something that we can take and that's the start of our inheritance that we leave for generations to come. People can should be able to come in to your environment, your business, and pick it up and run with it because you have the process, because you've built it out in such a way that others can follow it. And that also conditions them to start with that entrepreneurial spirit, right? Like how it was in your household where your mother and your father instilled that in you. And so once we start to do that, then we find that we reap lots of benefits. People pay for value, whatever that is. So I agree with the person that says, yes, you need to raise your prices, but you've got to see enough value in yourself to know that you're worth every penny that a person is paying, and the information that you're giving them is invaluable to begin with, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do believe that everybody should have a business for sure.
Okay, okay. So, Dr. Tabitha, first of all, thank you so much for being on. I definitely I appreciate you coming on and sharing. I wish we was recording before we started recording, because we had a whole lot of stuff that we talked about that we didn't even rehash once we got recorded. So I wish we had started recording first. I think I'm gonna start telling everybody, don't say nothing until I hear record, because we be having a whole other conversations. But I thank you so much for being on. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us. I want you to leave. I'm gonna give you the last word. So I want you to leave us with something, a word of wisdom or motivation, or whatever it is, however you see fit, to leave us with something, and also your social media handles and things of that nature, so the listeners know where they can find you and work with you. So I'll give you a second to think about that. So in the meantime, to my listeners, first of all, thank you guys for tuning in once again to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Just like I told you guys at the beginning of the podcast, I would tell you how you could win $100 from the podcast. So this is how you can win $100 from the podcast by entering our super subscriber contest. What does that mean? First, you have to subscribe to our YouTube page, our Facebook page, and our Spotify podcast. So after you have subscribed to all three, then you would text the word WIN to 866-326-0730 to qualify to win $100. And that will enter you into our super subscriber contest. And the contest is random, so at any time I can pull a winner, and it's ongoing, which means it never stops. So once you're in for life, and you can win, over and over again, depending on how many people, enter the program or enter the contest. Who's to say how many times you can win? And it doesn't cost you anything. Again, you're already listening. You're already here. You're already paying attention. So I know you like it. So just subscribe to all three. Again, the super subscriber contest, you must subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and our podcast on Spotify. After you've done all three, then text the word WIN to 866-326-0730 to qualify to enter the super subscriber contest to win the $100 from the podcast. So that's that. Again, Dr. Tabatha, thank you so very much again for being on. Thank you for gracing us with your expertise and your presence. And that's all I have to say. I leave you with the last word. So the floor is yours.
So I will say thank you for allowing me to be on your show on today. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Also, I'm going to enter the contest. I'm just saying, but at any rate, I will tell everybody that you owe it to yourself to bring that idea, that dream that you have to fruition. And what do I mean by that? Invest in yourself at the highest level possible. Like you owe it to yourself to be the best version of you. And if you find that you're the best version of you right now, being the person that you are with no help, just imagine what you could do with a coach, a mentor, or a trainer helping you, somebody that's already done what it is that you want to do. You can accelerate the process in 3 to 5 years and be somewhere completely different. I tell people to challenge yourself to change your zip code, challenge yourself to change your bank account. And then once you do that, now challenge others to do the same. So we can create a movement. We can create a legacy of entrepreneurship that the world has never seen. But we've got to empower ourselves and position ourselves to be able to do so and walk in our purpose, where we have so much inside of us that's just waiting to come out and the world is waiting. So you owe it to you to do whatever it is that you have on the inside. You can follow me at I am Dr. Tabatha on Facebook, Instagram, as well as LinkedIn, Twitter, and TikTok. So thank you once again. I do greatly appreciate this opportunity.
No problem. And also you said you just started your YouTube page, right?
I did just start my YouTube page, and that's also I am Dr. Tabatha. I do have a couple of videos out there. That is a new platform for me. I also have a podcast. It's called Inside Inspired Women that comes on Friday at 4:30 p.m. each week, and it is on the womeninspirationalradio.org network. It comes on the radio on Fridays. It goes to podcasts as well as YouTube TV on Mondays of the following week.
All right. So we can't end it no better than that. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James, and I believe that everyone can live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And so my mission is to help people to deal, to heal, and to fulfill. So until next week, I'll see you guys then. Be blessed. Hey guys, I know you're enjoying the podcast. However, don't forget to join our text line at 866-326-0730. That's 866-326-0730 in order to receive text messages with new events and things that is going on and new episodes as they release. All right, see you in a minute. Thanks for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Remember to listen, like, subscribe, and share. This episode has been brought to you by Deal to Heal Teas. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Remember, our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for listening.